I've been making big and complex projects that would take me like 4, 5, even 6 months to complete, but could I make something cool maybe in a month, maybe a week? How about one day? Welcome to Cut, Transform, Glue. 9 a.m. is when I started this journey, not really knowing if I was going to be capable of making such feat. But in order to make this possible, I set myself some rules. The most obvious one being no 3D printed parts allowed. The only reason I'm doing that is because 3D printing is not easy at all and it can take quite some time. Also, I think this one day build challenge idea is a great way to put out some quick little projects and test some concepts pretty fast. And I don't think I've ever said it here before, but I've been secretly working on a universe, one in which all of my models could fit in and have their own stories and purposes. And so yeah, this one day build challenge is a great way to do that. I'm thinking about these projects as quick little 3D sketches that I can in the future maybe use as reference for bigger projects. So if you like this idea and you want to see more of that, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button and leave me a comment. But anyways, the secret of building fast, I feel, is to have as many options as possible of Griblies. That way you can really look for pieces that fit well together, sometimes even matching the sizes and geometries of each other. And to build fast, I avoided complicated shapes, like anything with too many curves and round shapes was prohibited. Flat faces and square shapes was my target, especially because this is a cargo spaceship, so it really has no reason looking sleek or super cool. It definitely needed to look robust though, so yeah, I kept that in mind when I was making my choices. Now, scale is a big factor here, and I knew this was going to be challenging to express on the model. In my mind, this cargo spaceship is huge, and I mean really big. The green piece with a hatch I just showed you guys a few seconds ago is supposed to be like the opening where smaller spaceships could go in and land inside of this big freighter. Yeah, I'm talking really big stuff, and this is the beauty of trying this much smaller scale. I can test and try ideas that I could never really do before on my regular scale, which is the 1:20. Now let me tell you, time was moving fast, and this is something that I don't really face when I'm making like my bigger projects. I really take my time and choose like the best Gribly to use, or maybe I'll go for a 3D printed solution, meaning 3D modeling and printing time. So yeah, this was a completely different way to approach a build, and at that point right there, I was feeling the chaos of having to make quick decisions and coming up with some easy solutions. Now, at the same time, a part of me was beginning to have some fun with this looser approach of making a project. So yeah, I kept going. Now, it was around 1 p.m. at that point, and I was still on the build phase. This might sound like nothing, but the primer, it kind of needs some time to properly set, and the painting process, well, let's just say it was the most challenging part of the day. But anyways, I kept going, adding tiny little details all over the model, and this is something really interesting because in my bigger projects, the smaller details I have in my collection can really work, and this is a completely different scale. So yeah, I had to look for the tiniest little details I had, and they were still too big for this project, but I was happy with this result, to be honest. So then I could finally put the first and actually the only coat of primer on this project around 2 p.m. I was very late for the painting process, which I decided to tackle, of course, with some brush, because the airbrushing techniques I have are super slow. I'm not that good with an airbrush, so yeah, I decided to go with brushes for this project. The red you see right there is the classic red on the bottom of cargo ships that we see here on Earth. So yeah, I decided to kind of go with this red to give the sense of familiarity to the viewer. Now the hair dryer, that right there was my best friend on the one day build challenge. I was painting with acrylics, and as I'm working with brushes, I had to really thin the paint down as much as possible to avoid like the brush marks on the surface of the model, and yeah, that made the set time even longer. But I wasn't really expecting this paint job to look super perfect and well made. This was supposed to be like a quick little test, a one-day build challenge, like a way to express some ideas kind of as fast as possible. So yeah, I kept that in mind so I could have some fun during the day. And the paint job, I should say right here, the paint job is where the challenge of a one-day build really is. Now, it was around 5 p.m. at that point, and I was still not done with the painting process. Usually around 6 p.m. is when my body batteries kind of begin to fail, so yeah, I had to rush that matte varnish process to be able to take the final pictures to make the thumbnail of this video and head back home. But the matte varnish, as thick as I applied right there with a brush, wasn't a good idea. It kind of really killed the colors of the model, and so I decided to try some different techniques to give it some shine, using like a pencil or maybe a sponge with this metallic paint I had for a long time right here in my shop. First time trying this technique, and to be honest, I kind of like the result. And even though this is a super tiny model, like much smaller than the projects I usually do right here on this channel, this one-day build challenge was very interesting, I should say. Now, of course, I thought of giving up like a couple of times during the day, but I'm so glad I didn't, because around 6 p.m. the model was finished. I was very happy with the end result. As you can see, much smaller than the Racer spaceship, like for instance. But yeah, I really loved the result, and it will live right here on the top of my tool rack, so I can kind of look at him and think about having some fun every now and then. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more of these quick little projects in this channel, and as always, thanks for watching.